Hello, and welcome to the Cash-Based Practice Podcast, a production of drjarodcarter.com, aimed at giving physical therapists and other healthcare practice owners the information needed for success in the private pay business model. And now, here's your host, Jarod Carter.
Hello and welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for joining me. This is a Cash Practice Mastermind excerpt episode. I host the Cash-Based Practice Mastermind, and every week we do a coaching call. And some of the episodes in the podcast now, we are taking excerpts from those coaching calls so you can experience the types of strategies and advice that I'm sharing there, and also see what it would be like if you would like to be a part of the group and get my direct feedback on all of your questions and challenges in your practice. It's a wonderful and supportive small group of practice owners who are doing huge things in the cash-based business model. Not just physical therapists, we got speech therapists, occupational therapists, chiropractors, and direct primary care physicians as well. So, if you'd like to check out that group and see all that's included in our membership website, all past coaching calls where you can literally search through years for any keywords. If you want to see something about discovery sessions, or you want to see something about, converting and presentations, if you want to see something about a logistical piece of your practice, you do a search in that part of the website and it'll take you to every call where I've discussed that at all, and even take you to the minute and second that I start discussing that topic. So it's just an enormous resource and a wonderfully supportive group of like-minded practice owners. We would love to see you in the group. Check it out at drjarodcarter.com/mastermind. Before we dive in today's excerpt, I would, as always, like to thank the sponsors of this podcast, Patient Sites. They are a wonderful, wonderful company that will take care of all of your website and most of your marketing needs as well. All done for you at a very fair price. Check out the details at patientsites.com, and if you want to get started with them, make sure you mention this podcast so you get a nice discount for doing so. Thank you so much, as always, for joining, and with all that said, here is today's episode. One was having a true belief in the value of what you're providing. If you don't have that, it is very, very difficult. I shouldn't say to convince, but we are selling our services, we're selling ourselves. And if we don't internally and fully believe that we're worth every bit of the $150 an hour that they're going to spend with us, then it's very difficult to convince someone else to believe that as well. And so I gave this kind of homework a few weeks back of really focusing on what you provide and the value of what you provide consistently. Thinking about patients, taking note of patients where you've really changed their lives. You've really gotten them back to doing something that they couldn't do for a long time. You blew them away. You gave an amazing customer experience, and their life was truly changed and truly better because of what you did. And focus on patients like that and those memories every single day, because mentally you you've got to really ingrain that so that it is truly a subconsciously embedded belief, like, I am worth this. I am worth every bit of what I'm asking and more. It's super important. And I think one way to consciously do that is we can change habits, we can change thoughts, we can change our beliefs, but it takes repetition. It really has to be something where even if you have a little reminder email or pop up on your phone or your computer that has a few words that just reminds you to think about, maybe you picked out a handful of patient stories in your mind where you've totally changed their lives and really, really helped, right? And really just kind of focus on how much better off they were after that, after their experience with you and during their experience with you. And you utilize that to solidify the value of what you provide so that you, over time, it's not going to happen right away, but if you do this every day, and I mean every day you should have some sort of reminder to do this, 5-6 months from now, when you're talking about your rates, you will realize, wow, I truly, in my chest and brain, everything feels right when I'm saying this is what it's going to cost. And yes, by the way, not only is it 150 a session, this is not how you would phrase it, but not only is it 150 a session, but we're looking at an easily 10 to 12 session plan of care here because you've been dealing with it for so long, right? And when you you'll see over time, you start to gain more and more and more confidence. I was the same way early on. But I would say I was the same way more so in my previous employment, because I worked for a cash pay practice before I started my practice. So when I first dove into the cash pay realm, I was like, oh God. And they were charging $365 for the first hour. Try to ask for that. That was different, right? So, yeah, it was 365 and 190 for follow-ups. And so I'd come from, my insurance-based backgrounds and different employments, and I traveled with this wealthy couple for a year as their private PT. That helped, actually, seeing that kind of wealth and just mindset about health and spending money on health. That helped. But then I got into that, and I was like, it was like, okay, 365. How the hell am I going to ask for 365? But over time, I got a lot better at it. And I started to really, really believe that I was worth that. And so when I started my own thing and I was asking for 120 an hour, it was like asking them for $25. So it's all just perception, and you can change your perception over time. But I'm telling you and anyone else that doesn't feel like 1,000% confident that you are worth everything you're asking in compensation, and your services are worth that, time with you is worth that, you've got to work at it. And you got to make it a daily thing to focus on how much you change lives, right? You're keeping people out of surgery, keeping people from like a potentially life-ending event if something goes wrong. You're keeping people out of 6-month painful as hell rehab where his arm would be, in the sling the first few weeks. And it's just, think about the alternatives and think about how we keep people off of, opioids and all the data on that. Just what we do is freaking fantastic. It is amazing. And it is worth a lot. The problem is that the general public, unlike with things like personal training and massage therapy, the general public has been conditioned to think that anything with healthcare, PT included, shouldn't cost more than a $20 to $50 copay. So that's the perception that we're dealing with, right? We can't come to someone like that with lack of confidence in what we're offering. Like, we got to be 100% confident. And that takes time to develop. My homework for you would be to set that reminder on your phone. And that today, after this call, you really think back through your career and pick out like 5+ patients that were just stellar success stories that you kept out of surgery, or, got them back to doing something really, really, really important to them in their life. And then focus on one of those every day. Just take a moment, just take 30 seconds to really feel how much you helped them and how valuable your services were. And I know I've been repeating this, and I kind of droned on a little bit, but that's because this is so important. And when it comes to mindset stuff, like, that's our foundation. Those that were in the 12 months to cash practice success workshop with me know, like, that's where we started. It was mindset, and if we don't have that right, we're trying to build a house on a shaky foundation, and it's going to be very, very difficult to make sure that everything stays straight and stable, and we can actually scale to the point where we're not having to do a ton of networking and marketing, because we have a solid base of referrals from other practitioners as well as our past patients. And then we can look at maybe hiring other people. But if you're trying to move up in that direction on an unstable mindset foundation, it is just like spinning your wheels in mud. You got to get the mindset thing. It should get as much focus as your blogging and your video and all these marketing strategies. If the mindset's not there, it should get as much of your time as the other stuff. So get off my soapbox on that, but it's that important. And don't be hard on yourself and expect that in 1 month you're going to be like Mr. Confidence when you're asking someone for, to get behind a 10 treatment plan of care. It's okay. It's going to take time. It's just a matter of what I want you to commit to and expect is that you work at it every day, that you focus on it every day. The confidence will come, whether it's 1 month from now or 6 months from now. It'll come, but don't be hard on yourself if 2 months from now you're still feeling nervous about asking people, to get behind a really long plan of care. Okay.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Cash-Based Practice Podcast. If you liked what you heard here today, we have some extremely important things we want to send you. First, a quick start guide to cash-based physical therapy and Medicare. This free ebook will provide the primary rules and regulations surrounding this confusing but important topic. Secondly, we want to share with you the 5 characteristics common to all successful cash-based practices. Find out the vital things Jarod has learned from years of interviewing cash practice owners and running his own successful cash practice. As one of our listeners, we want to give you all this information absolutely free. You can get it right now by going to drjarodcarter.com/success. Again, that's drjarodcarter.com/success. Go there now to get your copies, and we'll see you next time.